And we are live. Good
Oh,
evening, everyone. First of all, let me say Happy Father's Day to everyone. This is the second episode of the Spooky Second Podcast, Season 3, hosted by the Pioneer Paranormal Society. This week, there are two members from the club hosting this episode. The two members are JD, the club's current promotions director, and Morgan, a student from Alfred University that has worked with the club over the past school year. She may also be starting a club at Alfred University soon. Our guests this week are Nate Cogar and Tom Edward,
you got it right. A
who,
lot of people say my name wrong all the time, so
who both star on a documentary series called When Darkness Falls. They are both involved with the documentary series called Behind the Shadows Decades in Addition. We will be talking about these documentary series, as well as the guest other experiences with the paranormal. To start off this episode, I will begin with playing the trailer for both of the series. The new trailer for an upcoming episode of When Darkness Falls will be shown at the end of the podcast episode. Okay. So that is it for the Behind the Shadows.
Are you feeling drawn to anywhere in particular?
The anxiety in my chest.
You guys are being chased?
A little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that maybe you guys had come upstairs and you were worried.
I don't. It doesn't feel negative. It feels.
pretty cool.
Okay. So, for When Darkness Falls, how did you guys come up with the idea of that project? And what is the overall scope of that project?
So, Tom and I, we kind of became friends through a mutual friend, and we talk a lot. We realized, hey, we both have film degrees that we weren't really doing anything with, so hey, why not do something with it? And that's kind of how that started, really. Super easy, right, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, I had the idea for the show before I met Nate, and it was more just the idea of it was going on, and it wasn't until me and Nate got together where it actually started to become a thing. We realized, this is something we could easily pull off. Well, I like to think we could easily pull it off. Who knows if we actually are, but we're doing our best. But and the premise of it was that it was mostly to just investigate the unknown, kind of figure out, what's going on. We all have our reasons for doing what we do and why. I mean, and everyone's reason's different for why they investigate the paranormal. I know my reason is most likely different from Nate's reason, but we wanted to do something that was sort of different, but obviously with TV the way it is, a lot of the stuff ends up being the same. So I don't want to say that our show is completely different from anybody else's, But I like to think it's different enough. So we use obviously me and Nate are on the show. I actually you'll as when it debuts and you see the episodes play out in their order, you actually start to see me less and less on the show, and I actually take more of a step back behind the scenes of the show. So you'll eventually only see me sporadically on it, and it's mostly going to feature Nate, Christy, and Kat. And I like the idea. The idea was for us because we have two psychic mediums on the show, and they are both different types of mediums. So I think it really adds a different dynamic to the show than what a lot of other shows are doing, I want to say. You'll get your shows that have a psychic walkthrough, and they'll walk through the building with everyone and give their impressions. Well, we tend to do that with two. And for instance, we filmed last night, and we did it a little even more of a little different twist on it, where we had both of our psychics come at different times and walk through the building, just to see what similarities they picked up on apart from each other. And they had never been to the building before. They didn't know anything about the buildings.
Nothing.
It was really interesting to see what they were able to pick up on separately.
Yeah, which is nice. Like, the only thing they knew going in was like the address, and they didn't look. We didn't tell them what the buildings were, what happened there. So it's always fascinating to see what they both pick up on, the matches and all that. And sometimes they get different sides. Sometimes they get certain pieces and they put it together. It's always fun. Like last night, we had a couple of things where Kat picked up on something different, but it added to what Christy had already picked up on too. So you get figure out the whole story that way. It's interesting.
So yeah, it's been a journey. We've done. Last night was our 8th filming episode. So season wise, I think it's all right now still season 1 that we're still. Yeah. I think we decided to keep it all into an even number, because we had filmed last summer into fall 7 episodes, and I didn't want to leave it. I'm kind of a freak like that, where I didn't want to leave it at an odd number, so it had to be an even number. So we filmed last night. So it's going to be 8 is going to be the number that I think we'll go with for season 1, and we're pretty much finished editing episode 1, which I believe you'll see a trailer for that at the end of the episode here.
Yeah, it will be at the end of this episode.
So then move on.
What are the individual locations that you went, and just that piece right now?
I'll defer that to Nate, since he did all the scouting.
That's my job. Yeah, I contact all the places, set all that stuff up. So we did the first episode, which everybody will see the trailer tonight, Maison Albion. It's like a giant wedding venue in Albion, New York. Then episode 2, we've already decided will be the Pratt Opera House, which was also in Albion. I think, are we going to do the one we did last night is episode 3, I think, probably, yeah. So last night we filmed at an old Elks Lodge in Albion. And then after that, we've got Hillview Manor, which was, I think, Newcastle, Pennsylvania, an old nursing home, also a whole bunch of different stuff over the years. The Museum of Wayne County, which looks like a house from the outside, but it's actually a jail. Used to be an old jail. Star Clark Tin Shop, that was in Mexico, New York. That was an interesting place.
Yes.
Dunkirk Lighthouse, that was a good one. What else, Tom? I'm blanking now.
How many was that?
More. I lost count. I lost count. I think that was it, right?
Hold on, let me see. Let's see. Wayne County, Dunkirk, Hillview,
You got the files right there.
Star Clark. Right. I think
that's it.
Yeah, I think that was it. Right? Did anyone count on that one? Because I didn't count.
I didn't count.
Hold on, I'm gonna count. if I could, I can I'm going to minimize the screen real quick.
The cool thing about these smaller documentaries, though, that are going to be on like Paraflix and smaller areas,
Mhm.
is you guys are able to focus on places that haven't been covered as much, like the
And
Stark
that's
Clarkton
been the
place.
goal. Yeah, that's been the goal all along, to find places that nobody's really been able to check out before, and kind of tell that story from a different point of view. The only one that we really did was Hillview Manor, because you've seen that basically on all the big shows. So,
Hmm.
but everything
Well,
else has been basically not explored at all. So
I will
it's
say
just
though
kind of
that
fun.
Hillview Manor was
Yeah,
a different beast.
it
Oh
was a
my
beast.
God, from where we filmed. It
You-
was.
yeah.
If you've never been there, I highly suggest if you can make the drive to go there,
Mhm.
because the experiences we all had were just out of this world. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't even explain some of the stuff that we experienced. And like,
Yeah, when the episode comes out, people will see.
yeah, I don't want to give
what we had
anything
to go
away
through.
from the episode because it's going to be in there. But like,
Uh-huh.
some of the stuff that happened was just like mind blowing. So,
Yeah, stuff
like
that you only dream about. You know what I mean? Like when you're out doing this kind of thing.
you
Some
see
of the
it on
stuff we had that
TV,
night.
you're like, oh, did that really happen? And then we're seeing a hill, and we're like, oh yeah, that really happened.
Mhm.
It's too definite to be your imagination.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I will say this: there was one part where something happened where we were all convinced someone had broken into the building, because that's how distinct it was. And we were like, okay, there's got to be someone in this building with us. Wasn't, but
Also, what was neat is you both mentioned, and it was in the trailer, is the Pratt's Event Center.
Mhm.
That place seems to be fairly new, just seems to
Yep.
recently have circulated.
Mhm.
Yep. So
I think we were among the first to actually go in there. As soon as I saw it posted, and I'm like, well, let me hop on this because it's fairly new. And honestly, I think DJ, the guy who runs it, said, we were the first people other than his little group to actually get in there. So that was always, something I'm like, well, so I'm always scouting. I'm always looking for different places. And when something new like that pops up, I'm all over it. All over it.
Nate actively sends out like emails and phone calls to places that like I've never even heard of before.
Yep.
And he's like, well, let's see if this place will let us come in there. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But
So do you have one of the documents where you literally just have everything laid out, copy and paste, and send it to somebody new?
And I personalize it for each place. Yeah, it's usually what I do. I have a file saved. Yeah.
I do love Pratt though. Pratt has been amazing. We met DJ through obviously Pratt because he runs all the paranormal events and whatnot there. And he actually is the one who got us in touch with the woman who owns the old Elks Lodge that we went to last night to have us come in. And he's been a good guy for us, and we enjoy helping him out as well whenever we can. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So it was briefly shown in the trailer, but who all are the members of the group that you have, and like what are their takes on the paranormal? What do they bring to the team or research?
Well, I know that for When Darkness Falls, I know that Christy's actually in the chat now. She's our one psychic that we have on the show, who apparently at one point on here commented that she has no idea what we're talking about. And I think that's false because she always knows what we're talking about.
She should, right? She just doesn't pay attention to us half the time, and that's not our fault.
We talk so much that
it is right there.
It's like, oh, they're talking again. I'm just gonna tune them out.
Yeah.
So obviously,
there's comments from Mike Ann. He does a lot with a Bigfoot, and him and Christy London actually did a psychic gallery event with us.
Okay. And they have their own podcast. They do.
Do.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know how somebody puts up with Christy at least once a week like that, but
Right? I mean, we see her.
I'm not sure what this is in regards to. But
that would be us.
yeah, that sounds about right.
That was her last night too. Every time
Yeah.
I say something, what? I didn't hear you.
Yep.
And then we, besides obviously Christy, we have Kat, who is also our. And she'll never. She doesn't call herself a medium. Hi, puppy.
Yeah, baby.
She's empathic, and ever since like we started working with Christy on this, she's become more in tune with everything. And I know from like her stances, we're definitely she's definitely a believer in paranormal, but she's also a very heavy skeptic on things, which is always nice to have, especially as a medium herself. So she's always looking for maybe a scientific or reasonable explanation for that noise down the hall we just heard.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like running towards it, like let's go get him.
Yeah. And she usually, if we find something, she's usually the one we go to because she'll normally tell us why we're wrong and all that fun stuff. So
I also want to say that she has bionic ears.
Yes.
And she can pick out EVPs from like across a room.
Yes.
When we're just listening to them through headphones, and she can hear them. I don't know how. It's weird. It freaks me out sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, how did you hear that? And yeah, it's funny, but that would be for our show.
Yeah.
Go
ahead on the other show.
I know. Behind the Shadows, I don't want to speak for the other cast members on the show, mainly because I don't particularly know exactly what their beliefs are. I know mine are, as I am obviously a believer in paranormal, what we're doing. I do have, skepticism, of course. Probably less than Kat does, but Behind the Shadows Behind the Shadows was a show that was a long while ago put together with Dan, and it was originally his show with his team, which was Greater Western New York Paranormal Society. After a bit, they kind of all went their separate ways, and within the last couple of years, Kevin Schmitz, who is one of the producers and owners of Stage 5 Media, him and Dan brought the show back with a new type of premise for it. And basically that premise was going to be that we were going to have seasoned investigators, which I don't know if I'd call myself seasoned, but it was me, Kat, taking on a younger person interested in paranormal and wanting to learn. I know Kevin and Dan said they had a lot of applications for it when we first started working on this, and out of them they chose Becca, who she's almost 19 now, I believe. She was like 16 or 17 when we started filming, and I think she's 18 now. And she had never done any type of like heavy investigating into paranormal or anything like that. And the idea was to, take her under our wing, teach her some stuff, let her develop, and go from there. So we did a 2-part episode of Hinsdale, which premiered it's probably pre-pandemic.
Probably about a year ago, yeah.
And yeah, I think we filmed it like right at the start of the pandemic. To be honest, I think that it was pretty much that summer, which at the time it premiered on a platform called VidiSpace. No longer a platform. It's now on Paraflix that you can watch. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. The show is, I like the premise of the show. The premise of the show is not, it's also teaching Becca, everything that we know and helping her come into her own as an investigator, but it's also that we investigate alternative claims to hauntings at places. So the first episode we focused on Hinsdale, and we did not step foot inside the house at all. We never filmed anything inside the house besides introductions. Our focus was on the outside of the history of the property itself, and all the claims of things that happened outside. Like, there was a barn on the property at one point where the pond is. And we tried to figure out what happened to that barn, and I don't know if you haven't seen the episode, we did get some intelligent communication regarding the barn and everything like that. We focused on the woods behind the house, and we brought on a couple guests that had been on previous Behind the Shadows episodes. So for for Hinsdale, we had Amy Perry Lane on. She's a medium as well, and that was a lot of fun. For the episode that premieres on August 20th at the premiere party for Nick Groff and his U.S. debut of Deathwalker, we're premiering an episode as well, which has Louis, who used to be on the show as well, as a guest on it. So that's basically the history on that. Real quick, and then
yeah, that documentary turned out very well. I watched it when it first came out. Well, it's not really a separate documentary, but
no, it ended up being 2 parts because there was so much. I'll just say, I watched it one time. That was it. Mainly because I just don't like watching myself on camera, and it's kind of weird. I'm definitely more comfortable behind the camera than I am in front of it. But it was, I thought it turned out really well.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, and then Riviera, I think, was we pushed it, even further. And the episode is going to be. Oh, Christy, calm down. Since when? Since always. That's why I don't appear much anymore. Remember? It's a good episode. I don't know if you guys. I know if you've seen the event going around, or if you guys plan on attending the Deathwalker premiere. It's at Riviera Theater, which is in North Tonawanda. I know VIP is sold out, but there's still general admission tickets. It's gonna be a great time. We're premiering our Behind the Shadows episode before Nick's premiere, so it should be great.
I personally will be attending, yeah. But
awesome. Oh, we can meet in person then. All right. Not before then. I mean, actually, technically, I keep forgetting that it's mid-June, and that's actually not that far away now.
Yeah, it's coming quick.
I'm like, oh man, where did this summer go already? In the summer, technically, but
yeah, no, I've already got to work with Nate. We worked on a documentary get together, a small documentary, but
yeah, and I know you guys were at Keystone.
Yep, it was a week ago. Yeah, just happenstance. I got invited, and we met. Yeah, it's in my backyard, so I wasn't very far from me.
Yeah,
got some really good evidence of spirit running upstairs, the next floor up.
I can't wait to see that. Nate didn't tell me that part. He actually didn't tell me much about the night at all.
He wasn't in my group at that time. I was in a separate group.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite overall investigation from including Riviera and the previous season of Behind the Shadows, and then all of When Darkness Falls so far?
That is a tough question.
That is tough.
I'm gonna say, and I don't know if Nate's gonna be thinking the same I am. I have to say Hillview Manor.
Mine's actually different.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good though. That's good. Yeah, I would say Hillview Manor. I think really it blew my mind. It really did. The things that happened, the things we were hearing and seeing, really just it blew my mind.
Mine was actually Star Clark. I'll be honest.
Oh,
I feel like that was kind of my like coming out of my shell moment, and like I'm not gonna say what happened because it's part of the episode and whatnot. But I really started to, and Christy and everybody can attest. I'm starting to pick up on things more and more. Like I'm never claiming to be a psychic, but I'm starting to pick up on stuff just being around Christy, Kat, and all of these guys. That's the night where it really like started to show itself, and something really cool happened there. And that makes that for me. That's my favorite from what we've done so far.
When I plan on editing that episode, that part is going to be like front and center as an integral part of that place, because it was a very profound moment, and I don't want to say more obviously because
yeah.
But when you see it, you'll understand when we show it, because it's just I think it was a culmination of everything for Nate. I don't want to speak for you, but that's kind of what I was feeling. And you know what? I always say this because working with Christy for everyone who's been around her is, as I always like to call her, she's like a beacon. And you can really see how much people, especially like Nate, tune into their spirit side when she's around, and like the things that Nate starts picking up on. It's been great to see.
Christy's powerful. She's very powerful.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me though. I turned that off a while ago. So
yeah.
Yeah, well, quoting back to the podcast I did last summer with Tim Shaw, he said that anybody is capable of it. You just have to work on the gifts that we have.
Yeah, I remember there was this one time when we first started filming When Darkness Falls with Christy and everyone. There was one part where she told me that I'm going to have to make a choice between my abilities or the filmmaking that I wanted to do. So I can imagine what choice you guys know I made at that point. We're still doing this pretty strong. So yeah, I'm not as good at picking up on things anymore as like Nate, Kat, and Christy are. But every so often it'll be there. But for the most part, I'm more the camera person.
You do a great job at that too, Tom.
Oh, thank you. So nice. As you can tell, we're all absolute like goofballs too. So. And
I mean, you have to be, otherwise it would be boring, right?
Yeah. Me and Nate rag on each other all the time, so we'll probably do that
all the time.
With his stupid hat.
You just okay.
Yeah.
Don't make me remove you guys from the stream because you're fighting.
If I could just reach through this screen. Oh wait.
Yeah, you gotta go the other way.
I always forget it's opposite.
It would be nice to watch on. Well, there's one that I can.
Hey, on the show.
Oh, Kat.
I like how I like it's our comments are from Christy, Kat, and Mike.
Yeah.
Well, the comments are delayed also, so that's why I'm not popping all of them up.
Okay.
Truth be told, Kat's probably right above me listening.
She's always listening, Tom.
That's true. She's always listening. She hears all.
Hey guys, who did the Bills beat us last year? I just question. I didn't see the game. I can't remember.
You did. You know you saw the game with us. You didn't win by much, though. Just saying.
Yeah, win's a win, Tom. Win's a win.
That's true.
So, what are your guys' past experiences with the paranormal? Like, what did you guys do before you got into these two series?
So, like, what should I word it like should I talk about what got me into paranormal? I can do that.
Yeah.
So I had this what I call it amazing now. When I was a kid, I was scared. Um, I was like 8 or 9 years old at the time, and I lived obviously differently from where I live now, but we had a duplex with me and my family, and we lived there. And we had an older lady that lived on the one side of us. And my father at the time worked overnights. So he was at work, and my mom, my sister, and I went to the store. And we came back, and it was wintertime, so it was cold. We found every door, window wide open. So obviously, my mom's first thought was someone broke into our house. Which now that I reflect on it, like if all the windows and doors are open, why would you first think that? Because what person breaking into a house is opening all your doors and windows? Like they're going around, oh, so open this one, you know. But at the time, she thought that's what it was. So she called the cops, and the cops came, checked the house out, and nobody was in the house. Nothing was stolen, nothing like that. So we knocked on the next door lady. She answered the door, and she said she didn't hear anything. She didn't hear doors opening. She didn't hear windows opening. She said the house was quiet. So it was just really, really weird experience. And then I used to have like a playroom when I was a kid in the basement. And that basement was probably the creepiest basement I've ever experienced. And I've been in some creepy basements now. I've been in the basement of Hinsdale, and that basement's creepy. This was a whole different level of creepy. Like I wouldn't even use my play down there. It just something was so weird about that space. There wasn't ever. We lived there for I think it was like a year or two. It wasn't super long. There was never one night living there that I made it through the whole night in my bed, sleeping. I ended up on either my sister's floor or my parents' floor sleeping because something in that room just kept bothering me. It would wake me up all the time. I'd hear like whispering while I was trying to sleep. Things would move, and I know since Nate's from around close to me. It was on Grand Island, which is an island over near Buffalo. And behind our house there were woods too. And I remember this other night I got woken up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm like 8, 9 years old. I get up and I look out the window, and in the woods, I to this day I swear it was a UFO sitting in the woods. I kid you not. There were lights circling. It was weird. I know it wasn't a dream. I was wide awake. It was weird. So I think that was those were my first real experiences into the paranormal. Because I was young. It wasn't until obviously when I got older, and I started watching when Ghost Hunters came out. Everyone was that was the thing. We were all holy cow! There's people that do this for on a main platform and everything. And I think from there I started really getting into it. I started going to places that I probably shouldn't have gone to, especially alone, by myself, without permission. As far as I'm gonna say. So it's that was my first foray into it.
Now we're doing all sorts of stuff. So mine is basically along the same lines, just having an experience when I was young that, well, I'll go ahead. I used to go to my grandparents' house every other weekend and stay for the weekend. And one night, the night before, you get that feeling when you're sitting and somebody's staring at you, you could tell right away. That was happening to me all night, but I was the only one in the room. So that already had me on edge. But when I finally fell asleep, I woke up the next morning and everybody was gone, shopping for groceries or whatever they were doing. So I, like the teenage kid I was, got on the computer and was just goofing off on the internet and sitting at the computer table. I hear upstairs somebody walking. So me instinctively, oh, maybe I'm not home alone. Let me go run up and see what's going on. I go up there, and not only was there nobody up there, but it was at least, I would say, 20 degrees colder than the rest of the house, which, middle of summer upstairs in an old house like that, they're usually way hotter than that. So needless to say, I was scared. I ran outside and I stayed outside until everybody else came home. And then fast forward maybe 5 years later, and like Tom said, ghost hunters came out, and that was a big thing for a lot of us back then, because nobody had really been doing any of that kind of thing. Yeah, I didn't really even know that was a thing you could do, like investigate anything like that. So, after that, I started, doing my own little thing here and there, little places. I mean, I used to go to Rolling Hills Asylum a lot. Like, they do tours. You could buy tickets and take your stuff and do. So little by little, I started buying, new equipment. And you start off with the simple stuff, your camera, voice recorder, stuff like that. And, honestly, I tell people all the time, the best tools you have are your eyes and ears. Because more often than not, you'll see more stuff with just looking and listening than you will with any fancy equipment. But then, keep going. I keep going different places. I meet people, and then you meet other people, and here we are now, going to all these cool places and doing all this cool, fun stuff. So, but it all starts, just because I was a scared little kid, basically, and I wanted to know, what was that? Like, was I crazy? I don't think so, but you never know. So, I am a little crazy. That is true. But
we're showing our age though when we say ghost hunters was
ghost hunters. That was like 2005, 2004, 2005 that came out, yeah.
Showing our age.
Yeah, a little bit. Now there's a million shows. You can watch pretty much every night of the week, find a different show on, so.
Yeah.
Back then, though, that first of its kind, like, blew me away. I remember watching some of those episodes and seeing some of the stuff they were catching back then, and, like, holy crap, like, maybe this is real, like, this is a real thing. Like,
so I got a good question for you guys. Of all the shows that are on now, what's your favorite show out there?
That's a good question.
What is it?
I think there's one called like Ghost Asylum, and I think that one's my favorite.
That's a good one.
I watch pretty much all of them.
So do I.
You could spend an entire day just watching ghost shows now on Discovery.
Yeah.
App they have.
There's a million of them.
I'm really lately digging Portals to Hell.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys watched it. I know Tim Shaw has been on a bunch of them, and I love Tim Shaw. He actually
he's on our first episode. Yeah.
First episode.
Yep.
He was extremely fun to work with.
Yes.
It was an honor to have him want to
that
come.
He said yes to us to come. Yeah.
And just watching him work, it was amazing. Like
Mm-hmm.
we put, and it's funny because we put him and Christy together, and they did a walkthrough of the building, and it's just those two together. I'm like, this is just amazing. We spent I think the first like 2 hours of them just walking through the building.
Easily.
That would be the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The one we had the trailer for.
Yep. Yes, you'll see Tim in the trailer tonight and everything.
It was great. Yeah, I think right now Portals to Hell is probably my favorite out there right now. I will say Deathwalker, when it does premiere in the US, is a definite watch for everyone. It's game-changing the way that Nick is doing things now.
Mine was Ghost of Shepherdstown because of the dynamic.
That was a really good one, yeah.
Just staying in the same area and doing different locations in the same area.
We kind of joke about Albion being our Shepherdstown right now because we do so much there. There's still more we could do there. It's crazy.
And it's funny because every time we're in Albion, we'll drive by buildings and be like, I wonder if that place will let us in.
Yeah, every time.
It's like, oh, that's got to be haunted. Like, look how old that building is.
Look at it.
But yeah,
So I'm
I
not
like,
the only one that does that.
oh no, not at all.
Listen, I'm the kind of person that will look, if we're going to a restaurant or something, I will look online to see if it's haunted before I even leave the building. Like,
I know the one
100%.
the one time we were heading to Pratt to reshoot some of the video we needed to reshoot, and I picked Nate up, and as we're driving, he's like, "Oh yeah, we gotta go drive by this building to look at." 'Cause we can get there. So
Yeah.
like, we're driving around Ilby, and we're like off to the side. We're like, "Oh, I don't see a contact number, but
Yeah.
find anything."
I'll hunt you down. I will. I'll do it.
That's how I used to scout, is just find places online and then
Mhm.
go to them when I'm
Mhm.
going somewhere else.
I will, and Nate will attest to this. The Haunted History Trail of New York has
Yes.
been such an invaluable resource for anyone that's interested in paranormal, because they list
Right.
anyone.
Just had it readily available.
Their promotions guy now, apparently.
Yeah. It literally, for me, like looking for places, Star Clark, I would have, that was in the book. Like,
Mhm.
it's pretty much everywhere in we're very fortunate in this area, Western New York, that we have that, and like it's booming. Like everybody wants to get in on it. Like, come check out our places, and
Yeah.
like there's it. I do research trying to find places, and like you check Pennsylvania, they don't have anything like that. Like I really have to dig to find places, and like outside of Western New York. That, not to say that they're not there, but they're not readily put together in a nice little pamphlet like that.
Yeah, it's
Nice that
been great.
they're also always adding places like the Western Block. That for me recently just showed up, and it's done a lot, and now it's part of the History Trail.
Mhm.
And then
I know
like,
they added the Pratt Opera House this year. That got added in after we went last year. So like they're always adding new things. Yeah.
then the place in Mount Morris that I've heard about for a long time, that just got added and has tours through the History Trail. The Legion's Bed and Breakfast.
I've heard of it.
Oh yes, I actually. Funny you say that. I talked to Nate. I talked to Rick last night about it.
Oh yeah.
Because he was there a couple weeks ago.
Oh good.
Yeah. Decent place, apparently. So. But yeah, that's been so useful.
Yes.
On that. But yeah, so back to Ghost of Shepherdstown was great. Nick and Elizabeth on that show were great. I got to actually work with Nick and Elizabeth on a movie. But it's like a docu movie. It's like I can't say too much, obviously, because it's not out yet either. But it was sort of local to here, and it's a pretty. I mean, that is. Oh, hold on, sorry. There's a giant centipede coming towards the door over there.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
We're not scared of ghosts, but centipedes, that'll get you, buddy.
That thing was huge. Giant size. Sorry, guys.
I was just wondering where the
Hold on one second.
iPhone charger went.
Should we mute him?
I always try to mute him whenever chance I get.
He can unmute himself when he's ready.
This is the best. But yeah, no, honestly, my favorite right now.
He's
This is
muted,
great.
but then he just went like that to the camera. So
Can you hear us?
I would assume so.
You're muted, Tom.
Hopefully he's ready.
I don't unmute myself. I'm sitting here going, I don't know.
That was the best birthday present I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, happy birthday.
Right now, that thing was huge. I kid you not. It was like this big.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first. It was
Spiders.
It was the first one I've
Christy
ever
said
seen in this apartment too. I've never seen any in here. It was the first one. Oh, it was huge. Sorry.
But there is a project with Elizabeth Saint to look forward to.
Yes. Yes. It's called Dead Remains. I could say that it has to do with the Hinsdale house.
And does it have to do with Dan?
Yeah, Dan.
Oh, he's
'Cause
part of it.
I'm pretty
sure.
sure that was mentioned previously in a podcast like 2 years
Mhm.
ago.
It probably, yeah.
So-
So it's still in like post-production, I like to call nightmare, because it's just, I know the last I heard they were shopping for like where to put it, but that was a lot of fun. I got to be, it was my first like acting job, like I got to be an actor, and it was pretty fun. It's like, I had 7 lines. It was awesome. I had to memorize them in like 10 minutes because I was like a last minute addition because someone didn't show up to do the one part that they needed. And so like I had to memorize these 7 lines in like 10 minutes. You know, I did what I could. I'm not gonna say it's the best acting debut ever, but it was.
You're not going to win an Oscar. That's basically what you're saying.
Oh, I don't think I'm ever gonna win that, Nate.
Somebody get him a printed plastic trophy.
I could work on that. He's muted again.
Well, I found the mute button, so
I did.
You got it. You figured it out. I don't know. I think my favorite show, Kindred Spirits, right now. I think that one's really good. Because you could tell they get along. They have really good chemistry and all that. So, and they go to some cool places and stuff too. So.
Yeah, you know, and I like their dynamic as just like 2 people.
Yeah.
The scope
and they bring in
changed over
some people
time,
every
though.
once in a while, but yeah.
Because they were originally focusing on family spirits and family ties and all that, and then they got into like more trying to find documented history and stuff.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of like they go and like help people in their own house. You know, if people would let me film in their house, I would love it. I haven't really found many people that are willing to do that yet, and you know, we always offer like, so our actual like paranormal group name is called Awaken Paranormal Research, and we always say like our services are for, obviously we'll come to your house for free and look, and we've gone to people's houses before and checked out things that they were experiencing. I will say it's a completely weird dynamic to do. Especially when you've never met the people before. Like we had this lady, this was before Nate joined up with us. This was years ago. This lady contacted our group and was like, you know, I'm experiencing some weird stuff happening. You know, can you guys come and check it out? And we're like, yeah, sure. You know, we don't charge anything. We just we'll help you out because that's what we do. And I don't think, you know, anyone should be charging for paranormal, especially for something that's not a proven science yet. You know. It's just so awkward that first time you walk up to someone's house and you like, you know, you knock on their door and they answer like, "Hi, yeah, we're here to like look at your house and you've never met us. We're gonna ask you to let us stay by ourselves in your house. Promise we won't steal anything." But, you know, but in the same regards of that is they're not always receptive to what you want to tell them after it's done. So like we went to this lady's house and like we investigated. She left us alone in her house, which I give her credit. I mean, she just went down, so it was like an upper lower apartment, and she went to the downstairs one and sat down there while we did our thing. You know, and we got to the bottom of what was happening, but she didn't want to hear that. You know what I mean? Like she wanted so badly for it to be something paranormal that when we told her it wasn't, she was like, "Oh no, it has to be. You guys, you're not doing it right or something." It's something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing going on here besides, you know, a lot of faulty wiring in your house. Like your EMF is like, is that a plane or a lawnmower?
I try to get out in a separate space to actually be able to record without distractions, and nothing has gone right.
It never fails. Lives always they always get distracted by something. Apparently,
Yeah.
giant centipede on the wall.
Centipedes and
Man, that
dogs.
Well, that thing was huge, but so yeah. So I mean, I know we haven't gone into anyone's house in a long while. I know Nate has.
Well, yeah, we did that
Well,
one, just you and me,
yeah,
a
we
couple
did
weeks ago, but
Yeah, but you knew that person, so I was
I knew that person. I think, yeah, about a year ago was the last one we actually got a call to go help
Yeah.
with. So
Yeah, it's. I'll do them if someone asks, but I'm not
Mhm.
actively searching for them.
no.
But
And
I will.
honestly,
We'll help out if we're asked.
yeah,
Just,
we've got the stuff to do it, so we're more than willing to come help. Especially the one we took a year ago, little kids were involved, and that's always high priority. Like, let's help because I was there. I was a scared kid. You know what I mean?
I did actually really forget about that. That was in NT,
Mhm.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Christy came along too.
Christy came on that one. Yeah.
I actually forgot about that. Yeah, they were.
Mhm.
Yeah. So obviously we got out there right away too because children
Mhm.
were involved.
Yeah, within a day or two, it was. Yeah.
And that for me is a big one because if you have children involved and
Mhm.
they're not sleeping, that's huge to me. Especially since I went through things when I was a kid.
That's
so
exactly
that was,
it. Yeah.
like an immediate response. But yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I was that scared kid at one point, so
Yeah.
I definitely want to help if we can on something like that.
Oh,
So.
Nate's still scared of the dark.
I'm still scared. I'm still scared. Tom has to walk me around.
That's right. He holds my hand as we go.
Yeah, we skip.
Yeah, no. While I was the president for the longest time of the club at the College of Alfred State, but I'm one of the biggest scaredy cats, so it's an interesting dynamic.
I will say there's not much that creeps me out anymore. But there are a few things that happen, especially recently, where I was like, nope, I'm out of here. I'm noping right out of here.
Mm-hmm.
The building last night, when we were first there, being alone was really, really weird. So we were. It was just this one specific part where it wasn't anything that was like it was like not on camera and stuff, but it was like while we were filming where I was like standing outside of a room and Nate, Christy, and our guest for the night, Bobbert, were inside this room and I'm standing outside the doorway and I just had this it just felt like things were watching me from every angle in the room. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't stand outside this doorway. Like, I just feel like everything's just staring at me, and it's just, it's dark around me, and I'm just like, it just feels like someone's gonna reach out and grab me at any moment. So I was like, I gotta get in this room with you guys because it was a little weird, and it doesn't happen often, but it was just like those moments where you're like, okay, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, the last time I actually got semi-nervous investigating was the night at Hinsdale, where there's a guy there who's not always the nicest guy. He was threatening us all that night, and it was one of the craziest things. Like we saved and everything. I was a little worried just driving home because I was home driving myself that night, and he was some of the things that were coming through the spirit box that night were, threatening. Per se, and when you get threats and stuff like that, sometimes that's a little unnerving.
Was that the night you got scratched too?
No, that was a different night. That night it was you, me, Chris, and Kim, I believe, and Kat.
Yeah, they got scratched at Hinsdale too.
Yeah,
you won't
but that I don't think was bad. I just think we weren't paying attention, and we had a big group that night, so we do tours and stuff there too. And it was one of those nights where we had a group of probably 20 people. So half of us were upstairs, half of us were downstairs. And, when you get that many people, sometimes it's a little hard to do a whole lot. Yeah. And just randomly, I look down, my arm starts tingling. I got a scratch all the way down my arm for the most part.
And it was long. It like someone took a nail, dragged it down his arm.
Yeah. That's the only time I've actually been like harmed, I guess, doing this stuff. So. That's not bad.
We've been obviously touched and
yeah.
Yeah, scratch is a whole different. I will say, because this wasn't on camera last night either. So I can talk about it.
Kevin?
Huh?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the Kevin story from
No,
Pratt.
I'm
Remember that? That was
talking
crazy.
about last night where it legitimately felt like someone at one point put a cigarette out on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
It all of a sudden started like burning, and it was just like it felt like it was just this little circular area on my arm, and it just felt like someone had taken a lit cigarette and just put it out on my arm. And it was the weirdest feeling ever. I guess I'm lucky enough where I haven't really been like hardcore harmed, like scratched and things like that yet. And it was just weird because it never happened, and I have no explanation for it. Because it's not like I bumped into anything because I was just standing in a room, and it's not like I wasn't even doing anything. I was just literally just holding a camera, and that's all I was doing. I wasn't even filming anything. I was just holding the camera and getting ready for what we were doing next, and nothing like was going on, and it was quiet, and then all of a sudden it just this burning sensation on my arm, and I looked down, and it was like red in a circle for a minute, like if someone had put it on. I'm like, that's wild.
Yeah.
We could talk about the first time we were at the Pratt. Our cameraman for the night, Kevin, he got shoved to the ground, like something like went right through him. We didn't see it because we were in a separate spot filming something else, but he was working camera that night, and all I remember is him, like, we heard a loud bang, and then Christy or Kat, somebody came running up to all of us and be like, something just happened to Kevin, get up here. And like, obviously that's not on camera or anything like that because we weren't really filming at the time, but like I've never seen anything quite like that. And I don't think it was like negative. I just think whatever was there was sending a message that night, like, hey, like, respect me, which a lot of it, that's a lot of what it is, but I've never seen anything quite like that. And that was the second episode we filmed, so.
Yeah, and if Christy was the one who actually like caught him, she was her and Kat were with him when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I read, he said it felt like something rushed into him and just knocked him back. No explanation for it. He was near a set of stairs, and that was it. Yeah, it was weird. So I want to ask, have you guys ever been to Hinsdale yet?
I've done a lot with Hinsdale, actually.
Great, awesome.
And I haven't
Amazing
been
place.
there yet.
You haven't been there yet? Oh, you gotta get there.
Well, you should go.
Definitely gotta get there. I always tell people, like, Hinsdale is a separate beast from everything else. I tend to think, so I'm one of the volunteers at the house, so on occasion when there's no one close by that can let teams in, and Dan's out of town, I'll be one of the people that drive out there, let a team in, give them a quick tour and all that. And I always tell people, like, the house is going to give you exactly what you ask for. If you go in there thinking negative stuff is going to happen, you're probably going to get negative stuff happening. I'd say the first time I ever took Kat there, she got ripped to the ground by something. Like, something literally grabbed her arm and pulled her down to the ground. We have it on camera. It was a wild experience. Ever since then, going back though, since she's a lot more grounded now and more, she's tuned into her gifts a lot more. They don't even mess with me now, for the most part. And like, they'll drop a couple of bombs at her, and that'll be it. But I will say that our craziest experience. I think you were here for that. You were here for that tour, right? You saw it.
The by the fire.
Yeah. We had this crazy experience, and I still to this day think it was a real person. We were doing a tour, and we broke the groups off into it. There were like 10 and 10 to a group.
Immediately took one group outside. One group outside had another group inside. And we had prior to the night starting, we started a fire in the back of the fire pit, and we had the fire going. And as night went on, it started to die out. So we're all out. So we're all out pond. And I'm even telling you, all 10 people in this group with us saw the same thing. We saw someone walk over to the fire on the side of the house, pick up like a stick, and start poking the fire. And we could literally see the fire flame up again. And then that was all we saw. We were convinced someone from come downstairs, gone outside the fire, back outside. So we called her up and we're like, is someone in your group, just outside? I'm not sure. She was like, no, they're all sitting right here. No explanation, because I can swear that it's that walked down that fire back up, but they were all accounted for. None of them had left the room. It was crazy. But those are type of experiences that, I mean, part of the reason why I do it, because those experiences are so amazing. And I would be like, why are you starting off fire back up? I wish I had an answer for it.
It's crazy.
So is everybody else hearing Thomas's mic doing that? You're like repeating.
Well, that's weird. Well, let me mute him again. How's that?
Well, it's still doing a little bit. You're like echoey. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't have headphones.
I wasn't doing that for most of the podcast, so that's kind of weird.
No, just started the last little bit there.
Like when you start talking about it. I'm not joking. This is what we hear at my house still. I get dreams about the house. Really bad dreams about the house. One that still is kind of scary. I had once. I was in my dream. I was in the house. I walked up to Mary's room.
It's getting worse, Tom.
I'm telling you, it's I haven't been there so much either. So
that's weird.
And
just messing with your audio.
That's like dream. So like when I walk into Mary's room, and all the flies are buzzing around. There's always flies in there. Well, in the dream they start dying, right? And they're just falling to the ground. I look down, and they literally come back in my dream.
Oh.
And I get these dreams if I haven't been in the house in a while, and I think a lot of it is I've done so much work there, and it's like I haven't been there. I think like a year now. It has so pandemic and everything, and it's getting there. It's really weird. And is it still doing it?
Yeah.
It's kind of working its way out of that, so that's kind of interesting.
What if you like back out and join back in real quick? Would that work?
I don't know. Can I do that? Would it let me?
Should, right?
So do I just hit leave and then join again?
Yeah, leave studio and then use that link to join.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why, because it just randomly started doing that when he was talking about that, which I wouldn't doubt it.
Was disorienting. I was going to ask his
I could still hear him, but it was weird. Yeah, let's see.
Hello, how are you?
Better, much better.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
That's weird, dude.
I'm telling you, man. It's sometimes when I start talking about that house, weird things happen. And sometimes it's because I haven't been there in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing talking about the dreams. Kat actually told me yesterday she had a dream about Wildwood.
You really?
So
We need to get back there too.
I think it's time for us to
Yeah.
go back. We usually follow what our dreams tell us because, and I know like people will be like, "Oh, it's just a dream," but here's the thing: I never remember dreams. The only dreams I remember are Hinsdale dreams. The only ones. Other than that, I never remember what I dream about. It's just always been that way since I remember. I just don't remember dreams.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Until they're Hinsdale, and those are the ones where I wake up and it's just like, holy crap, like it's time to go back. So, yeah, she told me that yesterday. So
that's crazy. It's probably time, yeah. I'm the same way. I don't have a lot of dreams, but I've definitely had a few of those where it's like, all right, it's the house. The house is doing it. Like, just I remember watching somebody like the house. Like a lot of the times when you see the house in your dreams too, it's weird because like doors are not where they should be. Like the stairs are in the kitchen, but in my dream they were in the living room, which makes zero sense. But like just different things like that. Like I woke up and like it's one of those things too. Like where you wake up and you still can't move. I had like drumming and I could feel heat, like just a heater blowing on me. But I remember waking up, sitting in my bed, and like just still feeling it, still hearing it, and just seeing my bedroom. And after like a second or two, I finally was able to move. And I'm like, all right, that's weird because I've never have anything like that happen.
But the last time we went there, the club member actually had a dream about a specific spirit. Then we got two different weird pieces of evidence that related back to that spirit during the investigation.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah,
There was a new name of Monica for whatever reason came up.
Oh, we have not had that one come through.
No.
But yeah, Hinsdale. It's Hinsdale, and that's
that's all you need to say. Yeah.
That's all you can say about it is it's its own thing, and we did. I mean, it's got tragic history. It's got tragic stories to it. It's just it is what it is.
It's history. Lots of history.
I mean, I could literally talk for hours about Hinsdale. Like, I have stories upon stories of things I've experienced there. Like to seeing like full blown lantern lights in the woods, as if someone was like turning a lantern on and carrying it. And, like 4 of us saw it, so it wasn't like it was one of us. It was just me. It was 4 of us saw this light, and we all thought it was a person with a flashlight at first in the woods. Well, but we ran up to it, and you've been there, right? So it was to the right of the driveway, in that, like, to the left of the pond when you're looking at the pond, in that wood brush right there. And we walked up there, and if it had been a person, we would have heard them moving away, or seen them sitting crouching, because you can't move through that brush without making a noise because it's so thick. And it was just like someone turned on a lantern and then turned it off. It was wild. It's like
crazy.
For it.
Hinsdale was the place where I first saw my first full body apparition. It blew me away. And the fun part is, what I saw, I described to Tom, and Tom had seen the same exact woman, like to a T, like same dress, same hair, everything. So,
she
must be Hinsdale hasn't chosen me for whatever reason, because I gave very minimal stuff.
Really? No.
Even though I've been there quite a few times.
Just keep going. Don't worry.
It happens. It happens.
The first few times that I went, which was I started going to Hinsdale before I ever even met Kat, so we're going like 7 years back now. When I first started going, I was going with different people, and the first couple times I went there, I didn't get anything. To the point where I thought, well, it was like, this kind of sucks. Like nothing happened. I'm like, it just feels like a house. Like it just in the woods, And then eventually, like, I stopped going with that group, and then I started going with some other people, and that's when everything started, like, it started clicking in, and then it was like, okay, I can see what people are talking about now. Like, all of a sudden, I'm seeing crazy things happening. And I remember the woman that Nate described, and I saw her clear as day. I was sitting on the couch. My friend was standing in front of me on the other side of the table, the little coffee table, and he was using a pendulum. And it was starting to move around, and all of a sudden, I saw this woman in a white dress walk behind him. As she walked behind him, she looked me dead in the eyes, and her eyes were black.
Like nothing, dark.
Circles, just like dark nothing there, and she just looked at me and then was gone. The thing that's so great about it was because Kat caught the end of her as well. So I know I wasn't seeing just random stuff. She caught the end of her too. She caught the dress moving, and it was clear as day. It was just a woman in a white dress with black eyes. And that was after that. Then there hasn't been a night that I've gone there where I haven't got activity except for one night, and that's because a massive snowstorm happened while we were there. By the way, don't ever get trapped in a snowstorm because I thought I was going to die on the way home because it was so bad. I had to roll down the window and look out the window to see where I was going to make sure I was still on the road because I couldn't see anything. And it was like 1 a.m, and I'm like, we should have just stayed at the house. But then we were like thinking, oh, what if we get snowed in there? Like we can't really get out. So we started like to drive home. And, oh man! And when those hills ice over, we were sliding down those hills, and I'm just like driving it. I'm like, oh, let's hope we get to the bottom. But but yeah,
that's like my worst fear.
Those. I could not imagine living there, and I know people live in that area. I don't know how they do it. Wintertime, I would just absolutely freak out because it's just so bad, and they get tons of snow down there. You know, it's the southern tier. Like that's all they get. But yeah, it was wild.
So with your guys' documentary, do you guys do like the opportunities to act for the show or have guests or anything?
We actually just started that. So we the first 7 episodes that we filmed last summer, we didn't do any reenactments or anything like that. We just filmed some interviews and then filmed the investigation. It wasn't really until I always wanted to do reenactments when we first started. I just wasn't really sure how to go about like trying to get people to like act, and then like we don't have a budget really. Like we can't really pay people like
candy.
Like
give you candy.
I thought that was like the greatest thing, but so it wasn't until we actually like last night was the first time we did reenactments for an episode. It was so much fun though. Like it was.
It was good too.
It took it to a whole new level. Like we had we reached out to some people that we knew. Like our one friend Rick played in a reenactment. We had Sheila come out, and she helped out, and she was in a scene as well. She ended up getting murdered.
We just reached out to the lady who owns, because it's a tanning studio, so she got one of her regular customers to come in and act for us too, which was interesting. She did a good job. She did.
She did. She was very, very shy when it came to acting or any type of that. So, but I think for that she did great. My goal is, what I want to do now is I kind of want to go back to some of these old episodes that we've already filmed, and I kind of want to shoot some reenactments for them if we can. I know Pratt we could easily do. I just actually had this thought earlier today about how easy Pratt would be able to do. Just on the stage acting and things like that. I mean, reenactments. So yeah, I would like to revisit. I think going forward now we're going to try to do reenactments for all the episodes that we can. It's some places, because we are what I'd call like an indie production. We're not a big budget company. We're not on a huge streaming platform like Discovery or anything like that. So some of the places we're not going to be able to, like Hillview Manor, we would never be able to get back there to do reenactments there, just because, unfortunately, because they're so well known and they're so popular and they're so big, it would just be budget breaking at that point. You know, we just wouldn't be able to do it. But some of these smaller places like Pratt or the Elks Lodge or, you know, Dunkirk Lighthouse, you know, we can get back there and just shoot some reenactments. And now that I can, you know, I've gotten the opportunity to do reenactments for Deathwalker, and watching how they did it really helped, and it gave me a lot of other great ideas to expand on. Anyone else hear that?
No, what'd you hear?
I heard like knocking or something. You know, it's like something was banging.
It was knocking earlier from somebody's camera, and now there's ATVs going back through.
Okay. I was making sure I wasn't hearing things because, you know, you never know in this day and age.
Weird.
So yeah, like watching them and the way that they did everything gave me a lot of good ideas. Nate handles all the social media. So I think the real trouble comes down to finding people to act. Either like I can't put out a thing on like any of the things. I mean, trying to get people to do it for free, it can be hard. I don't mind we can reuse Nick or Rick.
Yeah, like bringing the same people over, and nobody's really gonna care that much if we have the same person doing.
No, I mean, I'm gonna end up
over and over.
I'm gonna end up being in like 4 different Deathwalker scenes shows because I did a few of them in a row with them, you know. So yeah, I want to get into it more because for me, filming an investigation, it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's pretty much, you know, throw a light on, put the camera in focus, and film them investigating. I don't really there's not really much creative control to it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I like to, you know, when it comes to like reenactment though, that's where I can have my, you know, where I can think of like different creative elements, like, you know, how can we manipulate this scene to have a shadow on the back wall that someone sees, which we did yesterday in a very, very unique, cool way. I like to think.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah, we like simulated, you know, some lightning and stuff on a wall, and it worked out really cool. So I like that aspect a lot because it's where I can have my creative outlet, you know, to just think of different ways to portray some of these reenactments, you know. And it's not just filming them investigating.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Obviously it's fun. I do it. It's a lot of fun. But the reenactments.
The reenactments add something different to it, makes it more unique, more of our own, which absolutely makes it look better. And
then I can layer them over top of all the interviews we do with clients.
So you're not just watching like an interview the whole time. You could do things to add in over top of it, make it look different.
And it's funny because when we first started doing this, a lot of the episodes we just had people sit down and just talk for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, watching that back, I'm like, oh, it's kind of, I don't want to say boring, but it was like, who wants to sit here and watch someone talk for 20 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to think of something like a little more in depth here. So, like for this episode last night, instead of having our interviewees sit down, we walked around the building with them, which I think was a better element to it.
Yeah. That's the thing. We, doing as many as we've done now, it's easier to figure out like what we want to do now because, it doesn't have to be the same. We could change things up as we go. So like we said, the reenactments, we filmed 7 episodes before we decided to start doing that. So you pick up on different things. The more you do it, the more you know what you want to do. It's not something like, hey, let's just do this and that alone. Being able to add different elements now as we go. And like me and Tom talk every day about, let's do, what if we do this? What if we try this?
Yeah.
And there's no right answer. Like you could just do what you want, really. That's the fun part. Like being able to do whatever we want. We don't have anybody to really answer to other than me and maybe Kat or Christy, but me and Tom basically,
don't worry.
do what we want to do.
I don't answer to her anyways. I saw that Mike had a question if I was using AirPods. Actually, no, I'm not using anything. Nothing in my ears. I just have audio coming through a separate speaker system.
The thing for me with a document, like doing video editing, even though it's more for a club now, it's not really the same thing. It's more just YouTube videos than anything. But watching TV and seeing how different shows do different interviews and put scenes of things into it instead of just sit down interviews.
Yeah.
That makes it more interesting and helps for me making videos.
Yeah. I mean, that's so obviously film school, you get a basic knowledge, I like to say. At the end of the day, you're the creative element to it. That like school gave us the tools that we needed to know what to do with a camera or with editing or with post-production, but ultimately we're always learning, and it's up to me, Nate, you to really put it all together into what we want. And we've tried things that have utterly failed. Like multiple times. We're like, what we watch something back, we're like, wow, that looks like absolute garbage. Like that does not work at all. Let's try something else. So it's never a simple process either. We've had to go back, we've had to do reshoots. We had to reshoot some of the interviews because after like and it's one thing that I always criticize myself for too, is like something can always look good in that little viewfinder of a camera until you get it home and put it on a bigger screen into an editing software, and then you can really see how not so great it looks, because that little viewfinder is so small. Everything looks so good on that. Everything does. And it wasn't until I started doing that and I put up some footage, and I think Pratt was the first time where I was like, where it all kind of like, so I did school long ago. I mean, we're talking over 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away my age.
Your age.
I mean, we're talking at this point. I mean, let me put it to you this way. My 20-year high school reunion is this year. Actually, I think they're doing it in August.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go. So I went to college many moons ago. But I never really used it until recently. I always had ideas that I wanted to do, documentaries type things. There's a movie I want to do that I'm working on a script for. So it wasn't really, nothing really clicked until I started actually really diving into it, where I started to be like, oh, this is why I learned this.
Mm-hmm.
Like a huge thing, a huge thing that I love, that I use nonstop all the time now are, one's my zebra lines when you have a camera, which has to do with exposure levels. Love it. Anything that's overexposed, it puts zebra lines across it, so it has, works with lighting and all that. Another one is focus peaking, because there were a few times where in the viewfinder that looked crisp, beautiful focus on whoever we're filming face, and I get home and I'd be like, oh crap, it's all blurry. Like they're totally blurred out. I'm like, oh, okay. So once I put that together, I put the focus peaking on, and it was everything's in focus. Okay, beautiful. This is easy now. And it's funny because it took me super long to really put that together, but it's, it wasn't anything that I worked on right after I got out of school. Like I don't, my day job, as I like to say, it has nothing to do with film. Nothing. I work for a surgery center, so it has nothing to do. With, although apparently they did shoot a commercial there. Oh, I thought that was pretty cool. I had nothing to do with it because I didn't want my creative input. But what do I know? But
that's the thing. Like just even episode 1, Maison Albion. There's whole sections of stuff where we had to cut out because we don't notice it at the time, but the camera's going in and out of focus, blurry. Like you're not going to want to show somebody that, like, especially we're trying to, submit it to, hopefully get it certain places. But if we have things going in and out of focus, there's no chance at that point. So, you work around you. That's why you film all night. So you can pick and choose stuff. Hopefully it turns out, and you'll be able to see. Yeah, you do reshoots if you have to. You'll notice like they're not going to come out in order from when we film them. But you'll see, like, certain episodes may look different than others, but that's because we changed our styles and all that as we go along. We grow, we learn. That's half the fun. You learn what you're doing.
We really changed the way we did things as we go along. And since they're going to be somewhat out of order, I don't think they're all going to be out of order, but there's going to be a couple sprinkled where they didn't film. But, I mean, some of them, there's like a drastic difference from Daisy, calm down.
Yeah, she got all mad. Hold on.
But there's like a drastic. I don't want to say overly drastic, but there's a difference you can tell from one episode to another where we like switched things up and we did a couple things differently, or we investigated a little differently. Like, for instance, our first 2 episodes, we're gonna have just us going in, investigating, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna hit this third episode where we filmed last night, and we have each of our psychics going in separately, and then we're gonna like overlay things they hit on perfectly together. And it's very different than what we did previously. So we're gonna go, we're gonna have like an episode where that's completely different and something new that we did, and then we're gonna go back to the original style. So it'll be interesting, but that's just how you evolve and grow, and just sometimes how things work out when you film them. Because sometimes you'll film something and a year afterwards and have to come back. Like we filmed Pratt last year, and last May we had to come back a year later and do reshoots.
Yeah.
So we all look a little differently from a year ago when we did them. So it's going to be an edit for sure. That's Nate. That's on Nate. That was his to do.
Which one, Pratt?
Yeah, that's on you to do.
I did the first episode that's coming out. I did most of it. Now I got a rough cut together. I passed it back to Tom because he's better at fix. Now basically we've got a fixed color fix a lot of sound, and Tom's got more, know-how than I do on how to do a lot of that. So we're almost done with the first one. Hopefully, in the next couple weeks, we'll have a chance to get it submitted and see what happens with it. Hopefully, it gets picked up and aired on a streaming platform or whatnot.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens. But
I also have the really good color corrected.
yeah, you've got more of that. Yeah, exactly. I'm just using my Mac laptop, so but it gets the job done.
That Mac laptop has a great screen on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
not your screen, but it'll work. Yours will look better. And the thing is, too, a lot of the time, Tom lives an hour away just about, so it's not always the easiest to get together. But like, just technology-wise, like when I was in school, we didn't have a thing called Zoom and stuff or anything like this. So now we can get online, share a screen, and like edit together from an hour away. It's beautiful being able to do all that kind of thing.
So much easier too. Like if neither of us feel like making the 56-minute drive,
yeah,
we could just. It's such an. I mean, technology is great.
It's wonderful.
It's amazing what's happened. I mean, and that's some of the inspiration too is watching like shows nowadays too. Like some of the things that these TV shows and these movies can do, like de-aging people. Like whoever thought that was going to be a thing 20 years ago? Like CGI Carrie Fisher in the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like that's. No one ever thought that was going to be physically possible. But
no.
Living the life, man.
You could do pretty much anything you want to do now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you guys want to say anything about the new episode trailer before you go and air it?
No, we're excited to finally be getting to this point where we can show something physical that we've actually put together, and it's almost ready to come out.
For over a year.
A while.
And I think
it looks good. I thought the trailer looked good too, so we're excited for everybody to get to see it finally.
I like the end a lot too that you threw in there.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah.
So
it's exciting.
We'll go ahead and air that, and then Morgan, do you want to read the outro, the ending for?
Okay.
Okay. The moment we've all been waiting for.
Oh no.
Can you breeze? I'm breezing.
Yeah. Did someone just say Nate's name?
No.
Did someone just whisper your name?
I just want to go bang, bang, bang. I just want to go and pound on it.
A situation like that, you go like this.
Yeah, buddy. I love it.
Dude, I love that smoke at the end too.
Yeah.
Little touch in there.
Yeah, that was kind of neat.
That hopefully soon will be out. So keep an eye. We launched our own social media page for the show.
Yep.
So I'll be posting updates on there. Like we posted some stuff last night behind the scenes and everything like that. But as we get closer and things get rolling here, we'll be posting updates and all that onto that page and everything, so people will know when it's coming out, hopefully sooner than later.
I also want to add that apparently this has become a thing, but apparently like every episode now pretty much has a special guest. I don't know if you noticed that. Like,
on and off, yeah.
Every episode almost has a special guest that we bring on. It just seems to be ending up that way. Like last night we had Nate's friend Bobbert.
Bobbert. We had our friend Brittany at Dunkirk.
Brittany,
Tim Shaw on the first one.
Yeah, Tim Shaw. It just seems to be my sister on Hillview Manor. So, like it seems just like every show we have a special guest.
Yeah,
which is fine because that means I can focus more on camera work and all that. So, but look out because we might be asking more people.
Yeah, be watching. But yeah,
hey, Morgan.
Thanks everyone for joining and watching the podcast. You will be able to listen to the episodes of the podcast on Spotify at the end of the following week. This episode will be better to watch in video format due to the video trailers, though. Also, make sure to follow the club on Instagram, Facebook, and our new TikTok account to keep up with the podcast and all of our other events. If you're an Alfred State student and want to join the club, head over to the Pioneer link and join our organization. Also, stay tuned for our next episode and have a great summer.